So we welcome you to this afternoon's program. So as one of Impacted Africa's programs, we've been trying to help people to have easy access to scholarships. I'm Prince Kwesi Iboku, a health promotion officer with interest in maternal and child health. So before we begin, I want to issue a disclaimer that Impact Aid Africa is not affiliated to DAAD Scholarship scheme in any way. We are rather trying to help people to have easy access to the scholarship. So I want to issue that disclaimer as we begin. So before we begin, I would like to take a welcome address from our social media manager, Mr. Henry Dade Prosper.
All right, MC, thank you very much. As the name goes, my name is Henry Prosper Dade. I'm the manager for social media for Impact Aid Africa. I want to welcome all of you on behalf of the organization to this webinar series. I also want to welcome our panelists who avail themselves to be with us this afternoon for this special exercise. As education, we have been trying to organize a series of webinars on scholarship acquisition. And this afternoon, we are just gathered to get more insight for that of them. That's a German-based scholarship. And then we are also happy to have people who have gone through the grill. They have been able to access the scholarship. They have gone out there to study, and then they are back. For the purposes of the convenience and then the success story that comes with it, we have tried to reach out to them for them to come and share their ideologies, the procedures that are involved in acquiring the scholarship, and how easy it will be, because a lot of myths are around these scholarships across board. It's very tedious in acquiring them and all of that. So by the end of this program, we should be able to answer a lot of them interested in us have a fair idea in what to do and how to be able to go by them. So purposely, that is why we are gathered here this afternoon. We are very, very hopeful that by the end of the 1 hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours, a lot of your questions will be answered. And then your interest for this particular scholarship will also increase to be able to give you access to apply for this. We will try and plead with our panelists to be behind the scenes so that all the people who are joining us across board who will be interested in terms of reviewing maybe their essays and giving them some tips on how to get this done safely and easily. So thank you very much for joining us from across wherever you are reaching us from. And we are very happy that you have joined us. The videos will be recorded. We are also going to be live here for you to send us your question through the inbox. Our moderator will pick them up and then interwoven them into the whole conversation. That will help us to be able to answer most of your questions by the end of the program. So thank you. Feel free and enjoy the program. If you have any concern or you have any idea to share with us to improve our means of operation, we are ready to have you. You can inbox us and then we'll reach out to you to get those insights. So thank you. Enjoy the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry Prosper Dade. So that's a nice welcome address. Good. So to start with, we have our first presentation from Mr. Abdul Rahim Umoro. We want to know a little about him before we begin. He will give us the general overview of the DAAD Scholarship and general application guidelines. So we want to know about him. He is a community development practitioner who is passionate about youth development and community development. So over the years, he has participated and led various youth-led initiatives and organizations in Ghana as student and youth activist. He is the founder and executive director of Infinite Research Institute, a youth-led non-governmental organization which seeks to promote development through research and advocacy activities. Mr. Imoro holds a diploma in community development and a BA Social and Development Administration from University of Development Studies. He is a beneficiary of the Educational Pathway International Scholarship, as at the time he was pursuing his degree. Currently, he is a student at the University of Development Studies, pursuing Master of Philosophy in Community Health and Development as a DAAD scholar. He is a product of Business Senior High School in the Northern region of Ghana. So the point of emphasis is that he is a DAAD scholar currently on the program. So I would like him to give us a presentation or a general overview of that scholarship, what that scholarship is all about. So Mr. Abdul Rahim Umoro, you have the floor. Mr. Umoro, I think your mic might be on mute. If you can unmute yourself and.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you too. Good afternoon to you once again. As mentioned by Mr. Momin, my name is Imoro Abdurrahim and a student at the University for Development Studies. Today, we are going to discuss issues about that scholarship and what it takes as a student or PhD to pursue further studies as far as the scholarship packages or schemes are concerned. And so I'm going to take us through the overview or the general overview of the DAAD scholarship. You may have heard of DAAD, but DAAD basically has to do with the German exchange service. So this is actually a scholarship opportunity, or is a word, as a department or agency seeks to negotiate with these universities or schools to ensure that programs are brought to bear so that they can promote some level of exchange of students across the world. And so that is what DAAD is into. And so you may have seen we have different scholarship schemes or opportunities open to students. There are opportunities for students to pursue their degree programs. There are opportunities for students to pursue master's programs. And there are opportunities for students to pursue their PhDs across the world. And so let's not just limit this discussion today to pursuing scholarships abroad or Germany or other parts of the world. You can even study under scholarship by that in your home country. I think that we'll be looking at this whilst we proceed with the discussion. So that supports the internationalization of German universities and promotes German studies and the German language abroad. It is also important to say that that scholarship also opens or has some support for upcoming researchers or young researchers. And so there are funding available for these opportunities, depending on the opportunity that you want to pursue. Now, let's discuss the types of packages for people who intend to seek for the DAAD scholarship. One, let's look at, we have a range of funding offers by DAAD for undergraduates to doctoral programs, from internships to visiting lecturership from sometimes even seminars and all. As I said, it depends on the package or the opportunity that you want to pursue. So if you want to have an internship with a university, there are opportunities, and there are call for applications for each program or each university. So depending on the program that you want to pursue, you have to do your search to know what exactly do you want to study. Do you want to study mathematics, science, health-related courses, or community development programs? And so there are specific programs that DAAD usually fund. So if your career objective seeks to look at these programs, then you are eligible to apply for these scholarships. Now, let's look at the types of scholarships that we may have. Just as this webinar seeks to look at the opportunity to study in Germany, we also have opportunities to study within your country or in region. In region has to do with, we have the scholarships that you can study abroad, you can study in Germany, but again, we have scholarships that you can study within your home country, and we call that the surplus third country programs. There are instances you may not see it as a surplus or third country programs, but it may appear as in-country scholarship or in-region scholarship. So in-region or in-country. So it means that that could have negotiated with a partner university in your country, like Ghana, for example. So we have programs that are funded by DAAD, for which I'm a beneficiary too. So I'm not in abroad, I'm pursuing my program at the University for Development Studies. And because I'm privileged to be a Ghanaian too, I had the opportunity to pursue that program because it was open, an in-country scholarship. So it was open within Ghana and even those in within the sub-region, that is the sub-Saharan Africa. And so depending on the type of scholarship package that you want, then you can either apply to study abroad or to study in your home country. So you can still be in your home country whilst enjoying the benefits as a DAAD scholar. So can we proceed?
You can go ahead, sir.
So now let's look at the general entry requirements to be selected. Okay, to be selected as a DAAD scholar or to benefit from these scholarship opportunities. One critical document is for you to have an academic transcript. You should have it. You should have all your transcript up to date, all academic certificates. You should also present a CV, but usually that requirement is for you to build a CV using the Europass. Now, when you go online, you can search and design your own CV. It's the Europass kind of platform where this platform allows you to design your own CV. That is what DAAD usually recommends. Unfortunately, what is not within this website is for you to sign on this CV. So you have to create a portion on the CV, date it, and sign on it. If you don't sign on it, that does not recognize this as a valid CV. So this CV is not just an ordinary CV that you have to present. It is a CV that must be designed using the Europass. So it's a CV, this is some kind of Europass CV. At the same time, as I said, you have to sign on this CV that you used to apply. Okay, so can you hear me?
We lost you briefly, but
yes, yes. Okay.
Yes.
So one other document has to be your current occupational reference letter. Current occupational reference letter. This letter is actually talking about the reference letter from
Hello.
current occupation.
We are finding it difficult to hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Is it fine now? Is it clear
Better.
now?
Better.
Okay. Okay. So you are also supposed to present a current occupational reference letter. Now this
Yes,
letter has to do
it's
with
better.
reference
It's
letter
better
from
now.
the job.
It's better.
Okay. So this reference letter has to be given to you by your superiors at the workplace or the job that you are currently doing. And mind you, it is important that this reference letter touches on some of the key aspects of the process that you'll be doing. And so that has to be noted and noted very well. You also have to present, if it is a master's program that you're applying, you need to present a reference letter, one academic reference letter from your university teacher. Now, in the case of PhD, you are required to submit 2 reference letters from your academic referee. Now, it is also important for you to present a hand-signed motivational letter, a maximum of 2 pages. It shouldn't exceed 2 pages. And it also has to be hand-signed. I'm not going to delve much into hand-signed motivational letter because Mr. Sinanu will talk about it in subsequent discussion or presentation. Now, we also have English proficiency. And now English proficiency here, if you are applying for an in-region or in-country scholarship, usually you are not required to present English proficiency either by the British Council, that is the IELTS or the TOEFL, in-country scholarship or in-region, because it's within the sub-Saharan African region. You are not required to present an English proficiency letter. So in my case, for my scholarship package, I wasn't asked as a requirement to present any English proficiency. And so depending on the package that you want to apply, it is important that you know exactly what is required of you. And that is why it's important for you to read in detail what is required of you during the application process. Now, depending on the nature of the program that you are also seeking to pursue, it is important for you to present a research proposal. And so it depends on the university criteria, because there are some universities before you apply to study in their university, you need to present a proposal. You need to present a proposal. So it's relatively to the program that you want to pursue. So there are instances where research proposals may not be needed in your application. But as I said, that depends on the university that you are applying to. So, okay.
Yeah, so Imoro, just a quick one before you move on. So, hello.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add that, I mean,
yes, I can hear you.
Making this a bit more interactive, I just wanted to add that for the language proficiency, Germany, if you studied in a country where the entire duration of your previous degree program was in English, they do not expect you to submit a proficiency certificate. What they require of you is to provide a letter which you can obtain from some language centers, kind of like an attestation that you had your previous degree program. If it is first degree, the 4-year degree was entirely instructed in English, to show that you have the level of proficiency to be able to pursue further studies. So, I mean, in my case, I had to go to the University of Ghana Language Center for a letter to support that. So I just wanted to add that so that people who would want to study in Germany and not the in-country or in-region would know the other options available. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. So now I'm getting to the end of my presentation. Once you do this needed documentation and application. It has to go through rigorous process before you are selected for the scholarship. So usually that itself doesn't do the selection of students for the scholarship, but they have internationally recognized individuals who have these, they are made up of a selection committee where they now decide to vet all applicants and then finally select them for the scholarship opportunities that they may have applied for. So this is where basically my presentation would end. If you have questions to ask, we can probably drop it under the message section or just alert me when we have a question and answer session. So thank you very much for listening and your audience.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's a very nice presentation. And the key points, I think, are the various items needed for the scholarship application. You mentioned academic transcripts, which I think people can receive from their schools, and academic certificate. So participants can take note. Those are the very important things. And then the CV must not be any ordinary CV. It must be a form prescribed, which is the Europa CV, and it must be signed. So participants need to take note of that as well. Those are the key points. Yes, and then your occupational reference letter from your current employer. That's another thing that you need to have in order to have access to academic reference letter, and then hand-signed motivational letter. So in the subsequent presentations, we'll look at how exactly the motivational letter will be written and what it takes to write a very good motivational letter, and also English proficiency. But for in-country scholarships, for instance, what he's using to school in UDS in Ghana, there's no need for English proficiency. And like Mr. Mumin added, even studying in Germany itself, it's not all the scholarships that require, all the schools that require English proficiency. Sometimes you can just receive an English proficiency from your institutions. Mostly the universities are able to provide that. And depending on what you want to study, your research proposal. So those are the key points. Participants need to take note of that.
Okay, so I'd like to add something about to the CV.
All right,
so
kindly go ahead.
So we said the CV has to be the Europass CV, but it's not always so. Some universities have their own CV templates that you have to fill in because they are the ones going to kind of recommend you for the scholarship. So they want you to toe their line. So you have to fill the CV according to their templates, and then they will push it from there. So you should just be mindful of that. Some schools, their system is very different from the general one. Okay, thank you.
All right, that's good to note. So I think we have some few minutes for participants to make contributions and ask questions in regards to this very presentation. If they need clarity on any issue, they can signal us via the chat box or by just raising their hand, and we'll call on them to pass comments or ask questions. So participants are free to do that. Yes. So is there any other thing that any of the resource persons would like to add to what we've had already? The floor is open. This is an interactive session.
Okay, so I want to add up to the English proficiency.
Thank you. Kindly go ahead.
So yeah, I always advise that when you're applying for the scholarships, you should try and write. I think Germany is the IELTS that they really accept. IELTS is because you're applying for the scholarship with several hundreds of people across the globe who might have very good professional experience, which might even be better than yours or anything like that. They might have very good CVs. And on top of it, to also presenting, so that puts them on another pedestal and higher level. So what do you do to add some much more value to your application? It's good to also have those English exam, because some professors might not recognize your school's proficiency exam that they give to you, but they'll prefer to have a general and standardized English exam for you. So it's always advisable to just follow the normal line and provide all the necessary documents, because some of the professors might not tell you that this is why you're disqualified, but other people, if other 100 people are also having their proficiency and you don't have it, it's a form of that disqualifying you just without telling you. So I always advise that no matter what, just try and get the proficiency, because it will also add much more value to your application. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think that point is clear. That point is clear. So having the proficiency puts you ahead of your colleagues in the competition.
Yes.
So I think,
yes.
All right. Thank you very much. I think there is a comment or question here. Let me quickly look at it and read it out. All right. So from Madam Jacinta Ayambire, thank you for the presentation. My question is on the letter from your current employer. In the case of Ghana Health Service, who should write the letter? Your facility in charge or director? So I think Mr. Imuru or whoever, anyone who can take that.
Basically, yes. So I think that with this, the employer, the person you are working under should be the most appropriate person to maybe give this kind of reference letter, because that person has to comment based on the knowledge that he has about you. And so if you judge the protocols or you decide to give it to someone else who is not familiar with your work ethics, your leadership abilities, and all that, it may be a problem. That reference letter may not be detailed enough to give that an overview of who you really are. So it is important that your immediate supervisor or your immediate employer should be best placed to give you this kind of reference letter.
Okay, so I want to add something to it also. With this reference letter, it's advisable you have someone who is in a higher position who can provide you the letter of reference with a company letterhead and a stamp at least to show the authenticity of it, how authentic the letter is. They look at all of these kind of things to disqualify people. They want to deal with genuine people.
Yeah.
So if someone should present a letter that has been signed, stamped with the letterhead, obviously you believe it. But if someone just presents something that's just written some words inside it, then that's science. No one take that serious. So it's always advisable you get someone who is in a higher position, who can sign, stamp, and has a letterhead for you.
All right. Thank you very much. So I think the point is
my 2 cents to this. So for many of the DAAD scholarships, the German government actually uses this as a foreign policy tool to support the development of other countries of interest. And so they expect scholarship holders to return to their home countries to support in the development of their country studies. So the letter from your current employer, what they actually emphasize, one, for many of the scholarship types, for the employer to indicate how relevant the course you are going to pursue is for the work that you are doing, so that when you come back, there would be an added value to what you are doing. And so it is important that you get somebody that has some supervisory role over you, or who kind of to interact with your work periodically. So the questioner made reference to the Ghana Health Service. If you are working in, for example, Nkwanta district, it will be good if you can get the district director to give you this letter, that would be good. But the fact that you have a relationship with the regional director or someone at the national level does not really give you that, it does not really add that value to meet the expectation because that person might not really be able to speak directly. So in determining who to go to, get somebody that can easily be linked to your work and your performance, and to be able to really give a very strong letter in that regard. So I just wanted to add that for us to move on. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, so I have one small thing to add up to it. So when the person is writing the reference letter for you, please make sure the person doesn't just write a few sentences and just something to represent something. It should really tell who you are, what you've achieved. It should really describe you.
Yeah.
To the work. They just write some
Very
few lines
generic.
to it, and then that's
Yeah.
Yes, very, very generic. And it doesn't help the application. You might think that, oh, okay, he just provided a reference letter for them, that's submitted. But a professor will see it and be like, oh, okay, the person's boss isn't serious about this. What is this? So let me just put the person aside. They use very, very little details to disqualify people from scholarship application. You should bear in mind they're applying with several hundreds of people across the globe. Because you go to your school, you're going to have people from different countries. So they're also putting in very good applications. So you should make sure it's a one-time thing. Try very hard to kill it. Don't let someone's lackadaisical attitude destroy your chance. Make sure you put pressure on them to write a very good letter for you, and just make sure you follow up to it. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So I think at this point, we will take the next presentation and see there may be issues arising from the next presentation that may answer some of these questions into detail. Yes, so the next presentation will be done by Mr. Senanua Jabin. Mr. Senanua Jabin will do a presentation for us on how introduce Mr. Jabin to the house. So Mr. Senanua Jabin is an electrical engineer at the lean manufacturing engineer and project engineer with 4 years of industry experience. And he has worked with organizations such as bringing energy to life and expanding access to electricity throughout Ghana and the sub-region. Senanu is currently recipient of the DAAD Scholarship under the program Special Initiative for Job Creation and Training, and will be studying Masters of Engineering, Energy and Environmental Management at the Europa Universitat Flensburg. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science of Mines and Technology, Takwa, Ghana, and is a proud Odadie. So that's the man who will be introducing us to how to write a very strong application and write a very strong motivational letter. So Mr. Jabin, you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. I hope I'm clear and everyone can hear me.
Yes, you are loud and clear.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm going to start, I'm going to talk about the motivational letter. And I want to stress on it, aside all your CV and your transcript and everything, they're going to review all of those things first. But the most important document that's going to guarantee you the interview is the motivation letter. So your motivation letter is more of a mini interview. So you should put in all efforts and do your best to kill it, because you don't have the opportunity to explain anything to anyone again. So this is just a short way to introduce yourself and sell yourself very well for them to invite you for the interview. So the motivation letter, helpful interview tips. So as I said, the motivation letter is your ticket to the interview. Bear in mind, you shouldn't give out all details in the motivation letter. You should just give them a bit of who you are so they get interested. You know, at times we watch movies and then you start watching the movie and be like, oh, I know how this movie ends, so skip, and just start skipping through and move away. But some movies you start watching and then once you start, be like, oh, this is going to be very interesting. Let me take my time and go through. So this is how the motivation letter should be. It should catch them. It should attract them. They should be like, yes, I want to see who this person is. Let's invite him for an interview. Let's hear more from him. Let's see what his ideas are, his goals, his ambitions. So this is what a motivation letter should do. And the second point is your uniqueness should reflect your motivation letter. Everyone is unique and different in their own ways. So should your motivation letter be. It shouldn't be like someone has written something for you and then you just copy it up and then put it there and let me just submit something to present something. No, it's a one-time opportunity. You should kill it. You should put in all effort. You should describe who you are. You are very unique in your own sense. So your motivation letter shouldn't be like a brother's own or a friend's own also written and applied for that, because the professors look through it and they be like a similar and then just throw it off board. So next, it should be clear, concise, and subject related. At times, you read some people's letters and then you read the first 2-3 sentences, and then you have to come back to it. What's the person really saying? I'm not able to get the head and tail of it. The professor wouldn't have that time to read the first paragraph and come back again, come and try and understand what the person is writing about. Because bear in mind, the professor is teaching. He has a limited deadline to shortlist his candidates, and he has projects and things to review. So you're not expecting to reading your letter over and over to try and make head and tail of it. Once he starts reading and it can make sense out of it, trust me, he's going to put it aside because he had so many things to do. And try and make it should be subject related. So I'm in the energy space, so I can't go and take something from maybe a political science field and relating it to my letter. It should be subject related. You should try very much as possible to avoid unnecessary things and putting them into it, different fields, because the professor wants to deal with serious people. He wants to deal with people who are in this field. So if I see you have interest in that field and not really focusing, I'm not saying having an interest in that field is bad, but it shouldn't make it in such a sense that he has the idea that you're trying to have interest in that field and not having so much interest in this particular field, which is going to interview for. So try very much as possible to relate to your particular subject or your field, and it should be short as possible. You see some people's motivation or whatever, it is so long, 3 pages or more. No one's going to sit down and read something like that. Just like you receive WhatsApp messages and those long WhatsApp messages, you have to click and read more, read more. Personally, I don't read that. And I know a lot of people, when they see that, they'll be like, oh, it's one of those long forwarded messages. Let's just skip it. So try very much as possible to go straight to your point. It should be clear, and then it shouldn't give the person, now the person has to be looking for what you are trying to say, going over and over, trying to read through. It doesn't help at all. And avoid copy and paste and using generic templates for a motivation letter. As I said, the professors have been in this job for several years now. They've been seeing motivation letter for motivation letter for years. So once they see a certain format, they know, oh, okay, it's from maybe this time, somebody should do something like this. So let's move it, because it's not your own idea. It's not original. It's someone's work. So try very much as possible to avoid copy and paste. You can look at samples and templates online and then make yours unique. Just as I said, your uniqueness reflects your motivation letter. To make yours unique, never copy and paste, because they've seen this over the years. So once they see that, it's just a disqualification and then you're out. Okay, so next, motivation letter rules. So that allows you to apply for a maximum of 3 courses. And once you apply for these 3 courses, it's just a single motivation letter you have to submit. So you have to, in your motivation letter, you have to state out all the courses you are applying for and the schools in it. You're not going to give an opportunity to write one motivation letter to school A, another to school B, or to the next school. It's just one letter you'll be using. So you have to find a way and try very much as possible to fuse all of them into one motivation letter. And as stated earlier on, motivation letter shouldn't exceed 2 pages, because obviously you'll be reading a lot of motivation letters. So if it's more than 2 pages, just pack it to the side. He might say he'll look at it later, but you know what happens? They never come back to it. So try very much as possible to limit it to the 2 pages which they have given you. And rejected application. DAAD will reject any unsigned motivation letter. No matter how good the motivation letter is, if it's not signed, just kiss your application goodbye. It's never going to go through because they're giving specific guidelines and instructions. So these are very basic ways to eliminate people. So you might submit the application, remember that, oh, I didn't sign on it. Just forget the application is going to come as successful because they're going to disqualify you from it. So try very much as possible to read through the guidelines, follow whatever they're giving you, and I think you should be good. So the next one, questions a good motivation letter should address your professional experience and link with your future studies. So you should be able to tell what you've done in the past, your previous work experience, and how the course you're going to study relates to it. I'm the energy field, so my energy work in the past and what I'm going to study in the energy field, the things I'm going to learn, what are the prospects of it. There should be a link, a strong link between them, because that is looking for professionals who are serious and want to go to make an impact. This is a development-related scholarship. So you want to see something that's going to help impact your home country. So it's very key to make sure there's a link between your professional experience and future studies. And as well, your personal goals and achievements. So what you've achieved in the past and what you desire to achieve in the future, your goals and what you set, the target. Professors normally want to see somebody who has an aim, ambition, someone has future goals. They want to see that clear, distinct plan for the person's life so that they can work with people like that. They don't want somebody who says, oh, maybe I hope, and expect, I hope. No, they don't want to something. You should also draw out clear plans for the future. They see somebody as someone very serious if you're able to draw clear plans for your future. Then the impacts you hope to make upon return. This is very, very important. You should be able to draw a clear plan when you return to your country. What are you going to do? Are you going to establish an organization to focus on energy, to teach children in energy? You should be able to draw up a plan when you come out to the country. That is very, very key for your application. They want to see, because the program is to build you up so when you come back, come make an impact. So the impact it comes to making your country. What is the impact about? What are you going to do in your country and come back? That is something clear they want to see. They want to see someone has a future plan and the goal of return to the country and the plans and what he has to do for his country. So I think this point, you have to take it very seriously. You have to do your research and try and write something good that will sell well to the professors. And the most important one is why study the particular course in Germany or the field in Germany. So not going to school in Germany. Why Germany? So you have to do a lot of homework very well. In your field, you have to see what Germany has achieved in that field. So if it's in energy, I'm using my energy field, so allow me use your energy. It's energy. So Germany has achieved something great in energy or renewable energy space. So what have they achieved? You have to be able to tell that Germany has succeeded in this field from this time to this time. They've to overcome this challenge and all of that. You have to be able to show that this is the reason why you want to study in Germany. Because you could ask, why not study in your country? That's the question you can ask. But if you're able to sell that you want to study in Germany because of this and this and these reasons, then you're making a very good case for yourself. Okay, so let's move on. So the structure of the motivation letter. So when we're talking about the motivation letter and the structure of it, I think we discussed a lot of the things in the past slides already, the previous slides already. But the motivation letter has mainly three parts: the introduction, the body, and conclusion. So let me just move straight to the introduction. I'm not going to go in such random order because all the points are quite similar. So the introduction, you should show your excitement about the scholarship program. You should start and show them that, yes, you're happy about this scholarship and the opportunities and what it could do for you. You should show some excitement about receiving the scholarship and the future prospect of it. And then it should reflect who you are. It should reflect who you are, what you stand for, and what your future ambition and goals are. It should be able to reflect who you are. That's very key as well. And remember, introduction should not be so long, it should be short. So next one, your goals and aspirations. I talked about goals, aspirations already. Your future goals and aspirations, what you hope to achieve. You should be able to state all of that inside your introduction. And then your qualifications and experience. Yes, we spoke about that also. This is just I've spoken about all of this already, so this just should give you what and what you should add to your introduction. And then, key of all, at the end of introduction, you should state the problems you have identified, in your country. So why you want to go and study this course, the problems in your country, the lapses and all of that. You should just show the problem you've identified in your country and why you think you want to go and study this course. You should be able to link all of that in that introduction. Be mindful the introduction shouldn't be so long, but it should be short, concise, and then it should go straight to the point. Okay, next, then the body of the motivation letter. Yes. So as I spoke about why Germany and the successes in that field, I spoke about it. You should want to tell why you want to go and study in Germany. Tell about that whole thing. You should do your research very well and then provide facts and figures. This is very important in motivation letter. You should try and then provide some facts and figures because the professors have been key to all those fields in Germany. So they want, if you're able to show them some facts and figures and things they've also worked on previously, they know that yes, this person has done his research well. That's very key. And I said also the lapses in your country system related to your field. So maybe your country in energy field, you could say electricity penetration or maybe power outages, stuff like that. And you could relate it how Germany has achieved success in this high electricity penetration rate. So that is key also. Identify the problem in your country and write about that and link it to your field. And what the studies will change or impact it to make. So this is when you come back, what you're going to do in the country. When you come back, are you going to set up an organization or something like that? Be able to tell them a clear plan on what you hope to do when you come back and the skills you hope to gain from the course. So with this one, my advice is you could look through the course outline. Every course has an outline, the modules to take in the course. You should read through them, see the interesting ones, and pick them out because that's what you could build the skills you hope to acquire from the course from. You could say you would learn something on the economics management because your country could generate a lot of power and could export, and this would be key to generating income for your country. So you could build on something like that, a specific course within the model. That is very important to build on. So the professors also see that yes, you have done your research well, be able to bring out some course models within the program. That is very, very important also. And then German projects, your country and plans. This is quite dicey because not every field will have a German project in your country. But if you do your research and see Germany has any project or funding opportunities or stuff like that in your country that they're working on, then you can link with them and say you plan to work with them once you come back. And that should be a good point to tell them that you've done your research. They want to see people who have really done their research well because they're going to have the interview too. So you should do your research and answer all those questions as well. So the conclusion, you should answer why you need the scholarship and showcase your readiness to make an impact. Why you need the scholarship, I'm not saying you should go and say your father was poor, your mother was this, all those stories. No. What are the impacts it's going to make? What they need, that's why you need a scholarship, because you feel there's a gap in this field in your country. And once you get a scholarship, you come back and you become that success story in that field, and you can make the change that's most important, and then show readiness to make an impact. You should show something that yes, there's this challenge and you are going to make an impact once you come back. They want to see people who are committed to return to their country as well. So with my personal tips, the motivation letter should not be a repetition of a CV. That's very important because they're going to review your CVs and your transcripts and everything already. So once you come to a motivation letter, they want to see something different. So if you come and now bring what you put in your CV already, that's just kind of boring, and they might just push your application aside. So that I said, it should be unique in your application, your motivation. You should tell a different story, and a very, very good one, of course, not a direct repetition of your CV because they've seen your CV already, so they want something different. Okay, link your professional experience to your desired field of study. Very, very important. Try to make the linkage with your field of studies and what you desire to study. So you studied this, you've done this, and this is your professional experience, you've worked in this field, and the course you're going to study is also in this field. There should be that continuation. You want to see continuation and progress in your career. You can't study political science or something, then also go and do something in energy or health. No, they will not disqualify you. Make sure there's a progression in your career. you want to study maybe engineering, you want to build up on that engineering. That is very key as well. Try fusing your motivation letter into one page. This, I know people will disagree with me because that says 2 pages, but just look at it. You see a letter and you look at it, it's 1 page, 2 pages. Yeah, you'd be like, oh, this is another long AC again I have to read. You start having that feeling, should I look at it or not? Just as I said, the professors are working on student projects. They have their own papers they're writing. They have deadlines to submit shortlist applicants. So once it's a 1 page motivation letter and they see it as a 1 page motivation letter, they'll be like, oh, okay, this is short. Let me go through and see. Then they start reading it and then it catches them. Already they're excited because it's 1 page and not going to give them extra work. So a 1 page letter, of course, I'll be interested in reading it down. Some 2 pages or 3 pages. So try very much to fuse it into one. And I said, you should just give them bits and pieces of who you are to catch the attention to invite you for the interview, because the motivation letter is I'll call it the passport or a visa to your interview. Because let me use my instance. I got shortlisted for the interview, and the first question asked me, okay, so in your motivation letter, you said this, and this. They just went straight into the motivation letter because that is what is of interest to most people. That's where you can sell stuff and sell your future goals, plans, and ambitions. So it's very important to make it quite short, not so long, because not everyone has that time to read through such long motivation letter. And above all, start early and always seek a second opinion. They have deadlines in the course of the year where you're supposed to finish your application, but you know you're going to apply for a DAAD scholarship. I don't know if they've already ended, they've closed it now, but I know that scholarship comes every year. So you have to prepare in advance. Know the documents you use, the motivation, your field. Try to prepare all those documents in advance. Get a folder on your PC or whatever. Write the motivation letters. Let people review it. Not just 1 or 2, but let different people review it. Let them have their inputs into it. And by the time it's time to submit, you see that it would have been refined and very good to present. So I think that is very important as well. So I think, yes, this is the end of my presentation.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that's a very powerful presentation. Mr. Jabi, thank you very much. That's very nice. I think at the end of your presentation, we all know what a good motivation letter should look like. And those of us who have ambition of writing one will know what exactly entail. And if you are a participant and you've not taken note of the important points, the key points, you have to take note of them. He made a point that your motivational letter is a ticket to your interview. It is what will actually qualifies you to the interview or disqualify you. So a good motivation letter will push you to the next stage, which is you being invited to attend the interview. Or if it is bad, you may not be invited to attend the interview. And also it should be unique. Your motivation letter shouldn't be one copied from a friend or anyone else. It should be unique and it should be about yourself. And then your text should be clear and concise. So it shouldn't be too lengthy in a language that they may have to read more than once before making good meaning out of your motivation letter. So you should write a very concise but clear motivation letter so that upon reading it once, they may like to invite you for the interview. Then avoid copy and paste. That's using generic templates for your motivation letter. So you should know what exactly the institution you are applying for demands so that you do what they actually prefer, they want you to do. I think those are the key points you can take. So I think that's a very nice presentation. And also he made a point that the good motivation letter should answer some critical questions. So if you've not taken note of those points, kindly take note. It should be your professional experience and the link with future studies. That should be your professional experience and the link to your future studies. So you should state that clearly in your motivation letter. Your personal goals and achievements should be clearly stated. And then the impact you hope to make upon return from Germany. You should clearly state that in your motivation letter, and why you want to study a particular course in Germany. What makes it more interesting studying it in Germany than your country. So you should be able to write clearly on that. and it should be different from the personal point I took. It should be different from what you already have on your CV. It should be different from what you already have on your CV, so that upon reading it, they will know more about you, something different from what they have already read from the CV. And he also advised that it should be very concise. He recommended a page, so we can take note of that as well. So at this point, the floor is open. If you have a contribution you want to make, a question you want to ask, you can kindly drop it in the chat box, or you raise your hand and we'll give you the opportunity to ask your question. Yes, and the resource persons, you can also make contributions. If you have anything to add, any comments to make, you can kindly do that for us. So is there anything? Well, so I think at this point, I've not seen a question or a hand yet. And if there is none, then we could just quickly take the third presentation. I'm sure from there, the third presentation will be about life in Germany. So one of the DAAD scholars who has stayed in Germany, school there, have a lot of experience, how studying in Germany looks like, what it feels like. So he rates the experience with us, and I think we'll learn a lot from it. And the person who will be taking up this is Mr. Mumi. So I'll read a little about him and to introduce who exactly he is. Mr. Mumin is a development practitioner with over 12 years of working experience with national and international organizations. He currently works with Creative Associates International as a Senior Program Development Officer for Ghana and USAID, OTI Literal Regional Initiative, where he leads the programming team and developing and implementing portfolio activities to contribute to shoring up stability and preventing violent extremism in the littorals region, including Ghana. Mumi has previously worked with the Catholic Relief Services in Ghana as a manager for migration and youth development and as peace building coordinator. He also worked with the Ghana Democratic CDD Ghana as programs officer between 2008 and 2016. Mumin is an alumni of German Academic Exchange Service, DAAD. He holds a master's degree in development and governance from the University of Essen in Germany, and a bachelor degree in political science from the University of Ghana. And he's a product of Kumbungu Senior High School. So this is the man who will introduce us to life in Germany. Yes, so we would like to give him the opportunity. So Mr. Mumin, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, for the introduction. And thanks to my colleagues, previous presenters, for actually very insightful submissions and laying the background for the wrap-up. Kindly alert me when my internet goes crazy because it's quite unstable at my end. So I've been switching between my hotspots and my MiFi. So when it goes bad, kindly alert me and I'll see what I can do about that. Okay.
That's not a problem.
Right. So so basically, I'm just going to be sharing what I witnessed, what I lived, but also scholarship back in 2011. that are archaic, I would be more open to other panelists or even our listeners step in Germany. I haven't been to Germany since I got back, So basically, my can you see? Hello?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
You can see.
Sorry, I'm fighting a little battle here with my small girl.
That's all right. That's all right.
So go and give it to Aditya. Good girl. Okay. Sorry. So basically, this is the outline of my presentation, what I will try to speak to for the few minutes that we have. So largely, these are just some few bullet points. Just to say that, I mean, when I got the offer and I was given the needed information, what I was hoping to get was how I get to Germany, who pick me from the airport and all of that. But just to say that, I mean, Ghana is strategically located, and so there are easier connections by flight. But also when one gets to Germany, it is easier to get to your city from the airport, even if you are a first-time flyer. A lot of times we get so anxious and like, how do we find our ways around? Some universities, when you get the scholarship, they will have people at the airport to receive you and to take you to where you will be staying. Other universities, they will just send you the email with descriptions and names of streets and addresses that you can't even pronounce. When I got my email, I had to learn to pronounce even the names of the city and some of the street names, Annenemonweg and all that. But what is quite interesting is that it's very easy with street names and addresses. For Germany, you mentioned the name of a station. It is easier to get there. It's easier to locate the streets and the house numbers. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I will say that life in Germany is quite easy because the system is perfectly set up. Sorry, perfect might be, not the right word, but comparatively, the system is quite efficient. In terms of accommodation, this is always arranged for DAAD scholars who are going to Germany in advance. And so you do not need to get in there and then be struggling to find a place where you lay your head. The last point here I would say is that as a first timer going to Germany as an international student, you must be prepared for cultural shock. There are quite a number of things that you're going to see, and you'll be asking yourself if you
Hello, Mr. Mutaro. We
really live in this kind of society, because their ways are different from our ways. I mean, one of them was on my way to get some food at a nearby supermarket, was seen. Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Almost lost you. Yes,
Hello?
yes, we can hear you now. You can go ahead. Yes, we can hear you now. You can go ahead.
Okay. So,
Thank you very much.
Right, that's fine. So I was just saying that, I mean, the issue of cultural shock is something that happens to people not only in Germany. I would want to believe that even when some Germans come to Ghana, they encounter certain developments that give them cultural shock. So this is something that we need to keep in mind, and as international students, make sure we prepare ourselves emotionally, psychologically, so that when we encounter such incidents, it does not affect our state of mind and our mental health. The next one is about once you arrive in Germany, international students on privately funded students, once you arrive, you are supposed to go through registration in your school and obtain the Immatriculation Bescheinigung. That is like a pass, a student pass that you have, and then you will get student ID card. This is very key because it will inform your access to subsequent services and your ability to do other transactions. For example, you need this, so it's like a matriculation evidence or certificate. That is how loosely it is translated. You cannot get to rent accommodation and pay as a student if you do not have this document. So you have this document and you have your student ID card. The student ID card is a multi-purpose ID card for most DAAD scholarship holders in Germany. You are able to use it to make payments for services on campus. You also use it as your ticket for public transport system. Now, DAAD students have access to public transportation throughout the regions where they live. So if you live in Greater Accra, you can take either the regular train or bus, public transport to any part of Greater Accra region without paying any additional amount. Now, keep in mind that you would have already paid for transport services for the semester, but it is a very meager amount compared to what regular people, non-students pay. And once you pay, you use your student ID card for transport services and other payments. Now, once you register as a student on campus, then you would then be given your permanent accommodation. The university will assist you. When you arrive, you are put at a temporary place. Some would have already arranged the permanent accommodation for you before you arrive. And you also need this tenancy agreement to go and register with the city authorities. Now in Germany, you cannot just move from one city to another and then rent a room and stay. Even if you are a German citizen and you change cities, every city has a residence registration office. And so if you are a foreign student and you move to, for example, you are in Cologne, when you arrive in Cologne, after knowing where you stay, you have to go to the Cologne residence registration office and register as a resident in Cologne. Now you will need your tenants agreement and your student ID card to be able to do this registration. That is how their system is designed, to make sure that at every point in time, they have record. So this is how you regularize your stay. Once you register with the city authorities, you now get the Meldbestätigung, which you can then use to register for your residence permit. You cannot get a residence permit to live and study in Germany if you do not have this attestation from city authorities that you are registered as a resident and this is your address in the city. So their system is so designed such that it is difficult to beat it. Of course, we know some people do, but always do hide it. Now, say that the residence permit is key. You can arrive in Germany, right? But once you are, you would have to return unless you are able to make a successful appeal and get the residence permit. If you don't get it, they will return to your country of origin. Now, cost of living in Germany as a student. So every year, they do some kind of assessment. DAAD does it, the German government does it, others do it. And the assessment is to, especially when it comes to student services and exchange programs. Now, the current 20 living that someone is, that a student would need to be able to live in Germany at 850 euros per month. Sorry. So the DAAD uses this assessment to determine the monthly stipends that they pay to DAAD scholarship holders. So this is like, the average that is needed. But depending on the city you are living in, some can spend less than 850 euros per month, others can spend more. But this is what the DAAD scholarship amount, this is what informs the amount. And once they fix an amount, because prices of goods and services in Germany are quite stable, the amount, they can have this particular figure for the next 5 to 6 to 7 years. It's not like Ghana where you go and buy milk at 2 cities today, tomorrow it is 3 cities. So this is how things are determined. And your health insurance is catered for by DAAD. So what students would need to spend on are basically your rent, which takes a chunk of your money. They will find you the accommodation, but you will be paying the monthly rent. It is not DAAD pays you your stipend, but you pay your rent out of this amount every month. And so if they find you a place and you think it is too expensive and you can find your way around and live elsewhere, it is open to you. Now, transportation cost is also, as I indicated earlier, usually covered. You use your student ID card. And once you pay for the semester, until the end of the semester, you use your student ID card to go anywhere. And in fact, in some regions like, West Rhine, North Rhine-Westphalen, where I was, on a weekend, you can even add 2 of your friends on your ticket and you can travel to any part of the region via public transport, except the speed express trains, which you cannot use your ticket to travel on. So transportation is quite moderate and very well connected to every part of the country. So just to say also as the last point here that students, one of the best ways to minimize costs and save money is to always look out for where they are having flow marks. That's what they call flow marks. So weekends, for example, this weekend, we always knew that the coming weekend, there will be flow marked in Bonn. So we will travel all the way from Duisburg to Bonn just to do shopping because the flow marks things are quite cheaper and you can buy as much as you want so that you reduce your cost. But there are also discounts all the time that shops do, and you can find these things online. So that is basically when we talk about cost of living in Germany, from my experience and my interactions with some of my friends who still live there. Next is about daily life. Germans are very hardworking people and they take their time very seriously. So life is quite busy and very planned. It's not like you don't have this plan and then all of a sudden you get up, you want to go and visit a friend. Charlie, let's hang out. Charlie, accompany me to this place. It's difficult to find people this way. And you definitely, when you go there as an international student, you must adjust accordingly because everybody is minding their own business according to their schedule. Time is very expensive to them. So they don't joke with they don't joke with their holidays. And weekends, when they get the opportunity, they make the maximum use of it. Of course, Germans also love to party a lot. Student groups going for barbecue parties. I mean, these are, and weekends, you go to the 9 clubs, you drink, That is for those who drink. Unfortunately, for some of us who do not drink, it was always very lonely. It's not easy going out with friends to be partying and drinking whilst you are seated at a corner. But Germans can be very friendly, very lovely, but they have time for everything. If it is not time to have fun, don't try to impose your schedules on them. So they like visiting a lot, and that is one of the ways that international students you use to kill boredom, but also make sure that if you are suffering from homesickness, you don't lock yourself up in the room. Because it is easier and doesn't cost any extra to travel, you can just come out and decide to travel anywhere, just either to witness the sunshine because you have been out of sun for long, or just to walk by the seaside. To cap it all here, I would say that even before you get a scholarship opportunity to study in Germany, if you have that intention, start learning the German language. And I would add that this is one of the things that would make you very competitive when you are applying. Of course, every DAAD student is expected to study German language either in your home country before you go, or when you arrive in Germany, you study the language for the next 6 months before you commence your study program if you're going to do master's or PhD. Because this is a foreign policy tool and they want to export the German culture. And so they want people to learn German. So if you learn it and you apply, and if you have written any German language test and you kind of have proof that you have C1 or A1 or B2 in German, it kind of makes your application much more competitive. But more importantly, it makes it easier for you to navigate your way around. One thing about Germans is that I can say that over 90% of Germans understand or speak English, but it is very difficult for you to get them to speak English to you. They will tell you they don't understand until there is no other way for them and they start rattling the English language with you. So when you learn the language, it becomes easier for you to flow and find your way around. Are we still together?
Yes, we
Yes,
are.
yes, we are with you.
All right.
We are.
So the next one is basically planning your studies whilst you are in Germany as an international student. So I mentioned earlier that good time management is key. Don't play with the time of the German. And if you take the African time to Germany, you cannot make it, trust me. In fact, the system will force you to change, because if you are 60 seconds late from your hostel, you will miss the train for lectures. And if you miss the train at 8:30 a.m., then be sure that the next train is going to come at maybe 9 o'clock or 8:45 or 9:30. And add the time that you will take in traveling to the university campus site, and you see the amount of time you would have missed out on the lecture for the day. That's why we watch on TV, in the movies, and when you look at public transport or train stations, everybody is holding on tightly to their handbag and they are running as if there is some trouble or some wild animal has appeared in the scene. They are running to catch up with their trains, looking at their time. That is their lifestyle. So time management is key if you are going to succeed as an international student. It permeates all facets of life, including submission of term papers, presentations, and everything. Even if you decide that you are going to party, to have fun, provided you are not going to walk there, you must be time conscious because you'll be taking public transport. And if it is moving at 8:30, the doors to the trains are getting shut. Study groups are a very effective way to utilize your time as an international student. It's good to know what time you do your private study, but it's important to also have study groups. Because as an international student, you're going to have a number of people from other countries. And when you join a study group made up of different people from different nationalities, that is very helpful. You get a lot of perspectives. And that is how we widen our horizon. Seminars and academic papers, I spoke to this. It takes a chunk of your time and you must plan for them. It's not like tomorrow is the submission and you are now starting to write your introductions now. It will be difficult for you. Learning to use the library must be part of your plan. In fact, I don't know of other universities, but the university where I studied, you need to sit in a seminar or workshop to learn how to use the library. Otherwise, you will walk in and you can't just tell where to find what. You can use your laptop, sit and be able to get where specific books are located, and you can walk directly to those, shelves or areas and pick the book that you want. But you need to learn this and get used to the system or the platform that they are using. So most of the universities will organize research workshops, and how to use the library will be part of it. It pays, and this has proved very, very helpful. Now, some of us would want to make more money when we are studying at the same time. That is allowed in Germany, but there are restrictions. And as I indicated, if you know the German language, it makes it easier for you to find part-time jobs to do, either in the university or elsewhere. Now, if you are a foreign student from a non-EU member state, you can only work up to a maximum of 120 full days, or double of that half days in a year. So what it means is that it is not your discretion to overwork yourself because you want to make money and return as a millionaire. No, the laws don't allow that. There are restrictions. If you are going to work over 120 days in the year, you need to obtain special permits from the federal employment agency. So there must be an exemption for you before you can overwork. And there's also a limit as to how much you can be earning as a DAAD scholarship holder. There's a limit. If you are earning more than the scholarship amount, they have a way, for you cannot hide it. Unless you are taking small here, small there, and then together cumulatively, it exceeds that. But when it exceeds a certain amount, then by German laws, you are supposed to be paying tax. You must obtain a tax identification number. But because you are being paid by the taxpayer of Germany to study, they find it illogical that they would ask you to pay tax again. So because of that, if you are going to be earning above the DAAD stipend threshold, you must make DAAD aware of this, and your scholarship amount is going to be reduced by the difference that you are making. So you can only make more, up to 450 euros per month, and that is allowed. You will still get your full DAAD stipend. But when you exceed the threshold that is allowed, then DAAD will factor in the difference, and they will take it out of your, your monthly stipend. So the best is for you to stick to the rules and don't try to outsmart them. Don't try to play the Ghanaian, way of doing things, where we always have our ways and means and shortcuts. If you want to live happily in Germany, follow the law, and everything will come naturally. Now you are done with your studies. What opportunities exist for you as an international student? So by law, The German government allows up to 18 months of stay for graduates of German educational institutions to look for jobs. So you have finished your degree program, your master's, you want to stay back and look for a job, you can get permit and stay up to 18 months. So within this 18 months, you are supposed to be searching. If you do not get a job that can sustain you at the end of the 18 months, trust me, you will not get your residence permit renewed. The 18 months begin as soon as you write your final paper in your university. So if you have intention of staying back, you need to, once you find a job, a good job, they have standards. You find a job that meets the standard, then you have to apply for a permanent residence permit. They call it the EU Blue Card. Are we together?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, right. Sorry, I keep getting signals of weak and poor connection. So you know, so this opportunity, I mean, some of my colleagues took advantage of that. They stayed back, but you must also prove that you have source of income that can keep you, that can keep body and soul together for the period. So you are no longer on scholarship. What is your source of income? How are you going to survive? You must prove this. So for a lot of people, they would do savings in their bank accounts with this in mind, because if you are able to prove with your bank account statement that you have this amount of money in your bank account that can sustain you for this period, it becomes easier for the city authorities to issue you another residence permit. The thing is that when you arrive there in Germany, they will issue you a residence permit for 1 year. At the end of the 1 year, if your master's program is 2 years, you apply and they will renew it for another 1 year. So in my case, it was 18 months. So, so we had a period of 6 months for language course. Now, there was still 6 months which I had to apply for renewal. Apparently, when I applied, I don't know what happened. They gave me 2 years. But I spent only 1 week after submitting my final thesis, and I missed Ghana a lot, so I had to run back. So basically to say that these opportunities exist, but there's also, once you return or even you are still in Germany, there's the opportunity to network yourself with the DAAD alumni, a lot of useful information, linking you up with other opportunities, not only in Germany, but in other countries. But the most important one is the Center for International Migration. They have this institution that works closely with GIZ. They provide support to people who have studied in Germany and are willing to return to their home country. So they can apply to them when you are done with your course, and then they can provide you with air tickets to return to your home country. Upon your return, they also link SIM beneficiaries to available job opportunities. So they have networked and linked with employment, institutions and other organizations. And so a lot of times, some of these organizations will advertise their vacancies only on the SIM website, or they will reach out to SIM and tell them that we are looking for graduates with this set of qualification. So if you are on that platform, SIM can easily reach out to you, or they post these vacancies on their website, and then you can easily apply. And because, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you briefly.
Oh, sorry.
You are
So
back now.
I was just on my last point that STEM, that is the Center for International Migration, provides support to graduates of German institutions to return to their home country. And whilst they are in their home country, they help to connect them with job opportunities. And those who get jobs, SIM also have what they call salary top up. So the salary top up, depending on how much you are earning, they have an amount of money that they will be paying you at least the next 12 months, in addition to what you are earning from your job. So when I returned, luckily I was still working with my former employer, CDD Ghana. So at the end of every month, I would receive my salary from CDD Ghana, and SIM will also wire an amount of money. I think it was, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was good. It was about, I think, more than 350 the equivalent. So every month you will be receiving the salary top up from SIM until after 1 year. And sometimes there's even an opportunity for an extension for another half year. So for up to 18 months. So these are really great opportunities that exist. And GIZ and SIM always organize capacity building workshop. So for example, an organization might be looking for a graduate with certain set of skills. And if they are not getting such a candidate for the organization, SIM can decide to mount an intensive training workshop in that area for DAAD alumni. And at the end of the workshop, they can get somebody and now make a case to the employer that we have built the capacity of this candidate in the area. And so the person is in a position to perform or to fill the vacancy. So quite a lot of opportunities exist for DAAD alumni in Ghana and other countries across the world. And I really wouldn't hesitate to encourage our dear participants who are listening that Germany is a land of ideas and great opportunities. So if you are thinking of doing your master's or getting scholarship and you are still not sure, let Germany be amongst the countries where you are thinking of going. Even if you have other places, include Germany in that. Because the opportunities that I have mentioned, very few scholarships really give these opportunities. Not to forget that DAAD scholarships give opportunity to beneficiaries to even bring their spouses to join them whilst they are studying. What is much more sweeter and beautiful than this? I mean, you are a scholarship holder, you bring your husband or your wife to join you, and your spouse will be put on monthly allowance as well. And if you have a child or kids that have come with them, DAAD will provide support for you to get a decent accommodation, and they will be paying monthly stipends to your wife or your husband and your kid, just to make sure that you have that peaceful, peace mind to study. So in short, or should I say in long, this is what I have to share with dear colleagues, participants, and if there are any questions, I will try to provide an answer if I can, knowing that I have my co-panelists to support us in this discussion. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Moderator.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Muminu Mutaru. I think this is a very insightful presentation. We are all happy with it. We appreciate your time so much. Yes, so in summary, all I could say is that the system in Germany is working. Things are working very well, and just that all you need to do is you need to.
I like that.
Yes, the system is working. Yes, all you need to do is to obey instructions. You don't do things trying to beat the system, because the system is working 24/7. It can't be beaten by your smartness. You can't outsmart it. Yes, so I think it's very insightful. We appreciate your presentation so much. So, dear participants, you can ask questions, yes. And before we continue, from the previous presentation, after the previous presentations, I think 2 questions were raised which we couldn't address. So I think from this time we'll address all questions from everyone. Comments are welcome. So I'll take the most recent one before taking the previous ones. Sorry for that though. So Mr. Edward Tameklo is asking, please, can we have access to the various PowerPoints? Yes. Network breakage didn't allow some of us to follow it. Yes, that will be sent to your mail. And there was a question from Mr. Manaf Suleiman, please, about the CV and the motivation letter. How can we differentiate? What are some of the specific things we should consider? So I think Mr. Senanu could address that for us. Mr. Senanu Ajabin could address that for us.
Yeah, okay. So his question has to do with the difference between academic CV and, is it academic CV and professional CV, or which of them?
This one was about differentiating between CV and motivation letter.
Oh, okay.
There was another one which asked for academic CV and professional CV, the difference. So if you can take the opportunity to address the two, that will be fine.
All right, let me try to address the first one between the CV and then the motivation letter. So with the CV, you're going to get a template to follow. So you just have to follow that. It's just showing your work experience and what you've done in your school. It's a typical like CV format, but they've given you a specific format you have to follow. So that shouldn't be anything extraordinary. But then with the motivation letter, that's what I spoke about mainly. So you have to follow the steps I've listed in the presentation. And you also look at other samples, but not copy that one. Just look at how they fit in theirs. And they can use the ideas I use in my presentation to write it. So with the CV again, is a format you have to follow that will give you. The motivation letter doesn't have a format, but you have to be you have to do something new to show them here. That's what I can say.
All right. Thank you very much. So the second one is about academic CV and professional CV.
Yes, this is quite tricky though. As for academic thing, yeah, it's academic, but they are looking for professionals. They're supposed to be working professional. So it's more of selling your professional experience to them in the CV writing. So it's more professional, because I know the school's templates, it has a lot of professional places and what you have to write for. They ask you your work experience and all of that. Fine, you have to put some of your academic things there, but they're not really focusing on your academic things. It's mainly on your professional experience, because this scholarship is development related. So it's more of your work you're doing and what you're doing afterwards. So not necessarily academic based. You have to write details, courses study and all of that. No, they have your transcript. So it's mainly your professional experience they want to see. So it's more of a professional way. That's what I think you should follow. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Bala Hari wants to know, how do we get to know English University? I don't know if the question is clear or if I'm the one who is not getting it very, very clear. Please, if anyone understands and want to help us, how do we get to know English University?
Okay, so maybe I think he's asking how to know which school the program is in English or not.
It's in English, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, if it's in English or not. So the courses the courses they normally bring out, they are stated by the side, English or German. Some of them they have English and German. So it's normally written on the side. But no matter what, you're going to have a language course for the German within 6 months. So you shouldn't worry about that. If you're going to study in German or English, you always train for it. So that shouldn't be a headache for you at all.
Yeah, so I would like to add that some courses are entirely taught in English, but as I indicated, because DAAD programs are kind of like a foreign policy tool, you would still have to go through a language course if you are going to study in Germany in particular. And so there are some courses that are taught entirely in German, some a mix of English and German. Now, we know ourselves. Some of us, we know that we are very good in picking up language easily. There are some people, you will sit them down and try to teach them a language, and it will take you forever. In fact, there was an incident, a development in my year group with a colleague who was from Uganda. We, after, I think, in our 4th month during the language course, this gentleman decided that, and he was going to Osnabrück, where the course was largely in German, but also English component. But he said he wasn't seeing top with the German language course, so he was going back to Uganda. DAAD offered to, provide private tuition for him at home, even after school hours, to help bring him up to speed. But he was just like, no, he really didn't think it was going to be this way. There was no way he could cope. Even after meeting counselors provide DAAD to get him to stay, he said no. Since we're after some period, he said it wasn't working out. So he dropped out and went back to Germany. If you know yourself and you know learning a language is something that is a Herculean task for you, you should spend much to explore courses that do not have so much of German language as a language of instruction, and not just jump on it because it's an opportunity. So, and there are so many schools that the schools that teach largely in English, most of the courses are not research-based. So they are just taught courses in English. Those that are research-based, a lot of them are either entirely in German or a mix of English and German. So keep that in mind as you explore the opportunities. Over.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you very much. So I think, yeah, I think there's another question here. Please, what can you do if a school insists on provision of school language requirements, of English language requirements? Sorry. So if a school insists on provision of English language requirements, what should you do?
Yeah, I think I stated that early on. Just to be on the safer side, just write an exam and present it across the document so that you don't have any trouble in the application process. You might be lucky some schools might ask you, please take an English exam and bring it at this time or not. But some schools will just, in the admission process, just eliminate you because they have all the other thousands of students also presenting an English exam. So to be on the safer side, not in part of the back and forth between the school and yourself, just write the exam and submit it at once and be free. That's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So from here, I think there were some questions raised during the application process. If I could bring some of them on so that you attend to them. So do the scholarship also care for HND graduates? This someone want to know. Please, yes, any of the panelists can take that.
Yes, so basically DAAD scholarship, to the best of my knowledge, the requirements for masters is always a university degree for masters. For the DAAD scholarship, a master's scholarship that I have seen, I haven't really seen, and I haven't heard of a DAAD scholarship opportunity that accepts high national diploma as a requirement. There are opportunities you can explore because there are other DAAD scholarships, and I think Imoro was presenting, there are some opportunities to do short courses, even certificate courses there. And DAAD will fund you for you to go for like 6 months, sometimes a year, for a certificate course. And the requirements might differ. So they should take advantage of our internet, go to the daad.de website, and you would see so much information and opportunities that exist as far as scholarship opportunities are concerned.
All right.
Over.
Thank you very much. So yes, I think the question that ran across is also, are there opportunities for people who want to pursue PhD from English-speaking countries? Yes. People who want to pursue PhD, do they have opportunity under that scholarship? Yes. Please, you kindly go ahead. There are, right?
Sure. There are a number of opportunities for PhD scholarships. And as I indicated again, please go to www.daad.de. When you go there, you'll see the scholarship opportunities. Now, of course, this webinar, we are talking about DAAD scholarships, but there are quite a huge number of German universities that also offer scholarships. And you have English language taught and research courses, PhD levels and at master's level. So please intensify your search. You will get all of this.
All right. Thank you very much. So I think at this point, we may like to be wrapping up with final remarks from our panelists. So,
Mr. Moderator, I see a hand up from one Bala Hari for some time now. Their hand has been up.
Okay. Sorry for yes, Mr. Harris Bala, or yes, come ahead. We are listening to you.
Sorry, the question has been answered.
Oh, okay. Because your hand's still up.
Okay, all right. So I think the presentations have been able to answer most of the questions raised from the participants during the application process. So we'll not waste time going through some of them. So I think I'd like to take final. I will start with Mr. Abdul Rahim.
Okay. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
So I would like to encourage the participants to intensify their search and also to be consistent in their search. And I think it is also important to look at the program the background that you have, program you seek to pursue for your master's or your PhD. And that if there's a mismatch, you are going to be disqualified for a scholarship. And I think this is very critical to winning that scholarship. And so that is what I would like to say. And we wish all participants, applicants, the best of luck.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdurrahim Moro. Yes, so Mr. Senano Ajabin, you can kindly give us your final remarks.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Just try and start very early. You want to apply for the DAAD scholarship, know the timelines when they open, prepare all your documents as a go, review your motivation, let people review it severally. And by the time you are ready to submit, you have a very good motivation. You start up, you start writing, you'd get to a point where you lack ideas. You should just give it a break, go and come back, keep doing it, and start putting the ideas together small or small. So after some point when you're able to write, then give other people to reviewing it, and then you're also making the corrections alongside. With time, as you write more, you get better. That's the baseline for it. The more you write, the better you become. That's how it is. Always start early. Don't wait till deadlines are approaching, because you now have to get the documents from people, the certificates and all of that. You need to make sure you have everything as a goal. You're going to apply for scholarship, so you should have a folder and a computer which has all your scholarship documents. Scholarship documents normally cut across especially all other scholarships. So you should just put your documents down, so that when it's time, you don't now have to go to seek people, because people also will delay you. Some professors, you want to write recommendations for you, will delay you. So start early, make sure you get the accommodations as soon as possible, and I think it should be good. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Muminu Mutaru, you can kindly bless your closing remarks.
Yeah, so just to say that to our participants, don't look at this as something that is too hard to reach or too cumbersome. Once you have the intention, plan for it. If you plan for it, and as my colleague said, Senano, if you make time for it, you will not feel the pressure in mobilizing your documents and producing quality applications. And please, 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 when you are going for references, make sure you go to people who will give you proper reference. I can say that the application that finally got me the DAAD scholarship in late 2010 was about my 7th application for international master's programs. But that was the first to DAAD. And I looked at the reference letter that I got for my DAAD application and what I received earlier from lecturers at the University of Ghana Political Science Department. Many of them are too busy, so they have some generic templates for references that are with their secretary. So that when you call them or you just tell them, then they just ask you to bring your details, or they ask you to give your details to the secretary. The secretary just enters the details, your name and name of the school, into this template and print it for you. I mean, that is bullshit, sorry. A reference letter must speak to your strengths and link your experience and your course to the program you are going to pursue. So if you don't really have someone who will be willing to spend time to give you good reference letter, you better just forget it. So develop the relationship with those that you know you might be going to for reference letters. Make sure you have good reputation. And when it is time, just make sure that you give them enough information to feed. Some of them would even ask you to write a draft and bring to them so that they will polish it up. If you have that opportunity, that is equally good. Having said that, I would say I wish everybody who is intending to study outside on DAAD the very best. Keep the hope alive. If you don't get to Germany to study, as some might be, an opportunity for scholarship to study in Ghana is very good, equally great. Once you have DAAD link, it opens up so many other opportunities for you. So please keep it up. And thank you very much, Impact Aid, for the opportunity. I hope you get to kind of expand this to give more potential applicants the opportunity to enhance their knowledge in researching on scholarship opportunities. Over to you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mutaru. I thank you all for very insightful presentation. Executive Director Impact Aid, I want to acknowledge his friends and find out if he has a word to share with us. Mr. Abdul Malik Abdul Latif.
Okay, all right. Prince, thank you very much for the wonderful session. I think this has been amazing. We've had some very quality presentations by our presenters and the panelists, and then there have been some active engagement from the participants as well. I'm so happy that we've been able to pull this through, and I want to thank our panelists so much for making time. I think we've started planning this for the past 3 weeks, and we kept on postponing things here and there because of some challenges we had. but they have been extremely, extremely, extremely helpful and extremely understanding. And today we've been able to have that. And I must say that I was very enlightened, during the process. And, from application guidelines to how to write a motivational statement, to life in Germany. And I am even thinking, as a scholarship beneficiary myself, I'm wondering why I never knew about that scholarships, earlier, that I could take advantage of. And one important thing that I was so happy about is about the ability to even take your spouse, along with you. And there's allowance for your spouse, allowance for your children if you decide to take them along. On the scholarship that I had, I never had this opportunity, so I couldn't take my family along because we're told if you decide to take your family along, there's not going to be any addition. You are at liberty to do that. However, they wouldn't add anything to your stipend. It would just be same, just like any other beneficiary who doesn't go with their family. So I think this is a very important opportunity. And, I would like to say that it's very important to take, advantage of these things, because we live in a society where it is so difficult to come by jobs after graduation. And it's becoming so competitive. And I can assure you that usually when you decide to go for further studies, the kind of um, experience you gain, the way your level of thinking changes, by the time you return home, you are a completely different package. And I just want to say that I mean, even before, going for my scholarship in the UK, I had tried a couple of things, be it jobs, be it other opportunities as well. I wasn't really getting as much, I wasn't really getting a lot of responses from them, even though some of them I did get. But since I came back, I looked at my CV before I went to the UK and my CV after UK. And when I match it, side by side, I completely saw a different CV, a different me. The way I see life is completely different. My critical, analysis skills has enhanced, and a whole lot of things. And I would assure you, I mean, as Momin said, this is not something that is beyond reach. It's something you can easily get. Do well to do that. And there's no single day I'll ever discourage somebody from pursuing further studies outside the country. When you move out, that is when you get to realize that sometimes the kind of things we do here, excuse me, say we are just joking. So I would like to thank participants for their attention, for their time, and I wish you all the best in your scholarship application. And this is just not going to be the last webinar we're going to do. We're going to do more webinars to expose you to more scholarship opportunities. So on behalf of Impact Aid Africa, on behalf of
Hello, Malik. I wanted to add something small.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Yes, and a little advice to all who want to apply.
Yeah.
Have it in mind that you could apply and get rejected, but that's not the end of the road.
Yeah.
Scholarship application is like a race. You're racing so many people across the globe. You might be successful on one occasion, if that's good and excellent. Yours might come at the second or third try. Just don't give up on it. You know what you want to achieve in future. So once you devoted time to apply and you didn't get it, don't say, okay, I'm done with this scholarship application thing, because you devoted time to it. So that time, if you don't keep applying to get it, that means all the time you applied over the year of put inside is gone down the drain. Make sure you keep applying and be consistent with application. Refine it. If you don't get a scholarship, say what went wrong, review your documents and everything, and hit it again. Don't give up after one try, because not everybody gets it after one try. So that's what to say to somebody. All right.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think this is a very insightful session. I want to also acknowledge the presence of the FIDA 5 program manager for Impact Aid Africa, Ms. Rita Sewanu. So thank you very much. I also want to say, as a program of Impact Aid Africa, we are currently doing a fundraising campaign for a program we call FIDA 5, which is to support or rehabilitate malnourished children. So I want to use the opportunity to inform all of you about it. And if you have any opportunity to help little way, we're glad to receive help. Thank you very much for coming, and hope to see you in our
can you go over
subsequent
that part
timing.
again?
Okay, what I mean is Impact Africa run series of programs. So one of our programs is what we call Feed Up 5. Yes, it's a program aimed at helping rehabilitate or support malnourished children. So we are currently doing fundraising, fundraising campaign towards that project. So we need support, assistance from anyone who might be in position to help.
Oh, okay. I'm actually not taking you back because I'm a nutritionist, and hearing that really excited me. So we'll keep in touch on that as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. So I think we have exhausted our time. So we'll have another opportunity to meet again during our subsequent webinars. Thank you, and hope to see you again. Have a nice day.
All right.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.